since the last time you were here? You were, I think it was Zoom the last time, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful. I feel really, really lucky to have found my best friend, and yeah, I'm just super grateful.
That's so cool. Did you get married on April Fool's Day, did I hear?
Yes.
That's hilarious. I already love you as a couple.
Well, we eloped. We wanted to keep it a secret and just for us, and so we thought if anybody sees it, then we can always say that it was a prank. And then we did it for real later with all of our family and friends.
I like it. You had kind of a quick marriage too, right? Y'all got married pretty quickly after you met?
Yeah, probably 8 months, I think. Yeah.
That's quick, Chris.
Yeah, that's pretty quick. Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't April Fool's.
Not slow.
It was
when you know, you know.
When you know, you know. We were on a holiday, and then we had all our family there, and said, "Let's get married." It's more about saving money, you know.
It's just you're already all here.
We had
We're
everyone
gathered.
in one location. We're not going to do this again. I'm not flying you out here again. So.
I hear that you and your wife have such a love of Brad Pitt that's where one of your kids' names came from, right? One of his characters?
Well, yeah, who doesn't love Brad Pitt? But it's the character of Tristan in Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the Fall.
Which has got to be one of the coolest characters in movie history.
Yeah.
And we were sitting around, my wife was pregnant with twins, and we had one name, Sasha, for my other son, and we were like, what's the other name? And he rode, you know, on screen, literally on the screen, on the horse, and we said, that's a pretty cool character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So your wife is Spanish, so do you speak Spanish at all by now? You've been together for how long?
Yeah, like 2 sentences. It's amazing.
Okay.
In 14 years, I've retained.
She probably loves that, though, because when she gets mad, she can just go off in Spanish. You don't know.
And I love it, because I'm like, I know what you're saying.
But it sounds sexy even when you're mad. Yeah.
I love you too, babe, love you too. Un café con leche? No?
That's what you know.
Un café con leche and una cerveza.
Okay, beer and coffee.
He's set for breakfast and dinner. He's great.
Yeah, it's fine. No judgment. Hey, the Duolingo Al is so pissed at me. I've been trying to learn Spanish forever. So you're both, I have to talk about this, because you're both excellent at choosing projects, because anytime I see either one of you in it, I'll watch it. And I think that's amazing. That's not, I can't say that for every actor. Like, is there like a method to the madness of why you pick certain things?
Ooh, what do you think? I mean...
Money.
Okay, love it. That's a solid answer. Solid answer. Green is also my favorite color.
Yeah. Oh, and of course the creative, the arts, all that sort of thing.
I have to be moved, Kelly.
Listen, where I'm from in Australia, how do you choose projects?
I think they speak to you differently. I sound so stupid now. They'd speak to you differently. I think I know I'm in trouble when I start, like, as I'm reading the script, I'll start saying the lines out loud, or I'll start sitting differently, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this movie. But yeah, that and what he said.
But it's an interesting transition, because the first... I came all the way from Australia, Hollywood, you know, a few dollars in my pocket trying to get a job, and it was about take whatever you can get. And then once you all of a sudden have the creative sort of freedom to choose outside of that, it's a really tricky thing to let go, and you get offered these, you know, big things that might not be as full of the quality of the artistic expression, but that little the part of your brain that got you there is still going, just say yes, because it's all going to go away, So it's kind of... It's always a bit of a balance.
But this is a fickle industry, so that's true.
It's fickle. You don't know when it's going to end.
No matter how long you've been in the industry. I feel like it's not very forgiving in that sense. So
don't ever get too comfortable.
That's when it goes away. That was a look at their new movie, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. You can see it in theaters and IMAX right now. It's so good. But the best part had to be, I'm a kid that still like plays in the mud with my kids. Like I love to be dirty. I don't know what that says about me, therapist. But you are just dirty, bloody, just all of the things this entire movie.
Yeah, but you know what? It's kind of the best. Like, I had my upbringing in horror movies, and if you're dirty and bloody, then you can sit down wherever you want to sit down. You can eat your lunch as messy as you want to eat your lunch. You're not just, like...
worried about wrinkles.
Waiting to be put back on set. So, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, you love it, right?
Yeah.
You're Australian. This is like, I feel like,
It's much easier to stay dirty than it is to stay clean.
Yeah. I love you. Give the best answers, Chris.
You think? I don't know.
So wait, explain the story to everybody, because I was telling you, I hadn't seen anything of the Mad Max. I just hadn't seen that world. For some reason, I'd missed it. This is my first Mad Max film to see. I loved it. But this is a very intense film. Like, explain it to everybody.
It is. So this is the story of a young girl who is stolen from her home and her odyssey to get back home. Now, she was from a place called the Green Place. It was a matriarchal society. Things are not great, but they're working. And out there is the wasteland. And so you just see what it's like when we're all just forced into extreme situations, and kindness is something that's really punished.
Yeah. It's, I mean, and for you, like for this movie, it had to be kind of cool because we're always used to seeing you as the hero, and you are not, sir, in this. You are a giant...
He believed
like,
He believed he was a really good guy. It was really fun, yeah. It was a nice departure. I think playing the hero, especially in the superhero space, which I've loved. There's certain rules, expectations, and so on that you have to sit between, whereas the villain's allowed to be a little more unpredictable and boundless, and the sort of creative freedom to try things and transform in a way I hadn't before was incredibly refreshing and a lot of fun, and there was a sort of a madness to the character that I could lean into, which felt familiar.
Yeah.
For what went on.
All right, all right. You know? Well, I will say this.
Just a little insight into it.
You did a good job of making a total sociopath.
Yeah.
Like, you made me feel for him sometimes, because it was like, oh, what happened? Like, in certain points of the movie, who hurt you, or what happened to you?
Yeah, there was something we discussed a lot, you know, that the classic thing, you know, the villain doesn't think he's a villain, the villain thinks he's a hero, as does the hero in his story.
Yeah.
And trying to find moments of humanity and understand that these are all individuals and all products of the wasteland, this awful place, and they've all been pushed to extremes, and what would you do to survive, you know, not just the next week or month, but it's the next 24 hours.
To be fair, George did ask me, like, when we were first making this film, he said, justify making this movie. Why are we making this movie? And I do think that the Mad Max films have overall been very entertaining cautionary tales.
Yeah.
I think you want to see the wasteland on screen. I don't think anybody actually wants to live there. And so hopefully that leaves you thinking about things as you go home.
Yeah, absolutely, thought-provoking, absolutely. So I had mentioned, I hadn't seen the others, but you play, because Charlize Theron was in the original, you're the younger her, right? This is a prequel?
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And then you have a little girl.
Yeah.
This is crazy. So there's a little girl in the movie, and I was like, how did they find this girl? She looks so similar. Like, you know, except for the eye color, I was just like, how do y'all look like so similar? Well, the eye color in the movie, I guess. But like, and then it was totally AI.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
It was like a lot of AI they did with this little actor, right?
So George Miller had the idea, like, very, very early on that he wanted, because like the audience was already getting used to a new Furiosa.
Yeah.
He wanted the transition from both actors playing her to be seamless. And so I did 2 days of like the craziest things you could ever possibly imagine, and they mixed our faces together. And at the beginning of the movie, it's 35%. And then by the time I pick her up, it's gone up to 80%.
It's insane.
It's wild to see. I never thought I'd stare at my own eyes and mouth on the face of another person. Like, it was wild.
I know. Does that scare you as an actor? Like, I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's cool because it made the movie incredibly cool because of the AI. But at the same time, it worries me too. Do you have those reservations?
Absolutely. I think in terms of the effect that George was going for, he, you know, got it in spades, nailed it.
Yeah.
But there's a reason that our industry went on strike. You know, like it is something that is frightening, and I think if you're going to use it, you have to be honest about it, and it always has to be consensual. It's the lack of consent in anything in life that is the scary thing. Yeah,
well put. Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, you were a ballet dancer, right? Up until you were like 15?
15, yeah.
Yeah, so do you think that helped in all the
surprisingly
dancing with
a lot like fighting. Like,
that's what I was
really,
gonna say. Do you think,
absolutely. I think it's that idea of precision and like wanting to get something better and better and better, and just being able to pull the punch so you don't actually hit someone in the face.
Yeah. You're used to like action. I love you in action movies. I love Extraction. I mentioned that earlier. I love those too. Like, you're used to all the action stuff, right?
Yeah, I love it. I've done a lot of it, and it hurts at times, and then other times it works out, and you kind of have this very cool, what feels like a kind of dance sequence where everything just starts to flow and connect, and yet what you're creating is sort of violent and chaotic, but in the middle of it kind of there's a seamless sort of quality to it. But it's I had a very large athletic background growing up, and so something familiar, but something I love doing.
So is it true that you really didn't shave your head? By the way, you look incredibly hot with a shaved head.
Thank you very much. I was so desperate to do it. I like made the calls. This was happening. So psyched. Went out to Australia and George fell in love with my hair. And was just like, no, you can't lose it. But also we were shooting out of sequence, so yeah, unbelievable work from our hair and makeup department.
I mean,
that took 5 hours and it was seamless. Like you could not see it.
What do you, like, I complain about the hour and a half I'm in the chair. What does one do? How many wordscape games can you play? Like, I'm just like...
You surround yourself with really good people. And then
I love my people.
The whole time.
I love my people, but that's a lot of hours, y'all.
Yeah.
But when I saw you come on screen, I was like, wait, what? I was like,
what?
It looks like they changed you to where I was like, that's him, right? Like in the beginning, and then like it's insane. You look like a different human right here.
That was the plan. That was the plan.
Yeah, well done.
Was,
yeah.
Did the job.
Did you hate it though? Because you have to sit for hours for that stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm not great at sitting still, you know, like...
Yeah.
And especially at like 3 in the morning or 4 in the morning, and it was about 3 or 4 hours. But to kind of have that transformation, look in the mirror and not quite recognise who's staring back at you helps to get into the headspace. And it was the biggest swing I'd been able to take, because, you know, as far as the creative departure, like we talked about before. And then, you know, like anything, the sets, the costume, the prosthetics, hair, makeup, they all help tell the story you're trying to, you know, have resonate with an audience. So. I was thankful for it. It was cool.
Yeah, it was so... I was like, people are so talented.
Yeah.
Like what they can do, makeup and hair. Like, I'm just like, what? I mean, they are. I don't look like this. They're like Harry Potter. But anyway, so you shot in Australia. I love Australia. You should go to Australia. It's awesome. But did you show people around? Because you're from there. Did you tell them where to go?
Well...
That's a no.
Okay, hang on. So we met up at the start of the film, had this great rehearsal session, and then our characters kind of got separated for the next 4 months and met up at the very end. And Anya came out to my house toward the end of the shoot, met my wife. She speaks Spanish. They're like, un café con leche. And I was like, una cerveza. And they hit it off, and I was like, this whole time I could have got you a coffee and a beer. And
I could have been so helpful.
But can I be honest, when I went back to Sydney just for the press tour, which is not where I live, you know that city better than I do.
I know Sydney
and so
well.
She's my tour guide.
Okay.
It's embarrassing as an Australian, but she tells me all the cafes and so on.
You know, it's funny, I don't think I mean, you're not from there, but I just think where you live, too, I don't think you see the site. You know, like, people will come in, like, even in Texas, people would be like, oh, have you been to this, what's the state fair like? I'm like, I don't know, I had a job, y'all. I didn't get to go to the state fair and hang out. Like, I've never been.
So I think sometimes you don't do,
I was in hair and makeup for 4 hours. Oh, that sounds like hell. So wait, so you drive in the movies, but you don't actually have a license. Why don't you have a license? Don't you want that freedom?
I so want it, especially like having spent more time in LA. That really, really sucks. But I grew up in London, and then I've been working ever since, and so I've always gotten everywhere on foot or the subway or the tube. Yeah. But this is the first thing I learned how to do in a car. No, that's a lie. There's another thing called a Juicy Lift 180, which is the first thing that I learned how to do in a car. And now I really want to get my stunt driver's license as well, because the people that teach you how to do that are so freaking
I know, I was going to say, you can, like, stunt drive, but you can't just drive on a highway. All right. Well, I mentioned, though, 10-year-old sons, right? The twins are... Okay.
Twins,
so they're already driving, right? Dirt bikes and stuff? They're already doing all that?
Dirt bikes, horses. But this is them on a motorbike.
Look how good they are.
He was 8 at the time doing that. It's terrifying to watch.
Isn't that crazy?
But yeah, it's sort of just wild at that age.
I am not. That would have been me. That one, the little jump.
That's my cousin, I think. Anyway, it's just how, I don't know, when they're exposed to those kind of things at that age, just how quickly they pick them up. And I'd rather they were doing it at this age when their sort of mind's open and aware. And, you know, I try and do that now, and
level of
it just falls
confidence.
apart and breaks.
No, but it brings a level of confidence, I think, too. It changes their personality a bit, too. It does for my kids.
Yeah. They're rough and tumble and kind of throw themselves into things with a great amount of enthusiasm, and
I will say, though,
it's terrifying to watch.
I know, there's that moment, though, like, one of mine flipped a four-wheeler, and I was like, hi. I was like, and I ran up there, and I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and like got back up, nothing was broken, whatever, but it like, you know, it scared me. But almost like, this sounds horrible, but since nothing bad happened, I'm kind of glad both were there, because then I'm like, have a little bit of fear. It's healthy.
Well, this is like, one of my boy, one of the twins, See, one of them's it's just a touch smarter, so he kind of sends the other one in first, and he's like, "Yeah, that looks pretty big.
Chris.
You go first." Yeah. They know there's not favourites, right? They love them both, but one of them is kind of like a crash test dummy, and he's been to the hospital like 5 times.
Yeah.
And they've got a room for him. They're like, "You're back, Mr. Hemsworth. Come on, bring him on through." And he's had concussions, broken arm, leg stitches, all sorts of things.
You know what,
and I keep waiting for him to go, "Oh, okay, don't do that again." He doesn't stop. He's just like...
You know what, though? It's gonna run the world one day. I'm telling you what.
He's gonna run something. He's gonna run me off a cliff. But, no.
Your honest feeling vibe is so awesome. Okay, well, no segue there. You can see Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, in theaters and IMAX now. It's so good. You gotta go check it out. Give it up for Anya and Chris, everybody.